Meanwhile, in Ukraine, a cleanup operation is underway at the Children's Hospital of Kyiv. According to the United Nations, the lethal strike was caused by a direct hit from a Russian missile. More than 40 people were killed, including 4 children, but the UN expects those numbers to rise as verification efforts continue. Rescuers are still combing through the wreckage for survivors at Ukraine's largest children's hospital a day after it was hit in a barrage of missile strikes across the country that killed at least 41 people and wounded dozens. Many are young children.
Almaty is a children's specialist hospital where families from across the country bring their children for treatment of serious medical conditions such as cancer and kidney disease.
Those children are now being evacuated to other facilities across the country.
670 child patients, mainly inpatients, were there, together with more than 1,000 medical staff. At least 2 children were killed, including a female doctor, and at least 50 were injured, including 7 children.
The head of the mission for UN Human Rights monitoring Ukraine said if it weren't for staff moving children to a bunker yesterday when the air raid sirens went off, the casualties would have been much higher.
Я стояв з цієї сторони. Ми десь були на середині операції, коли прозвучав вибух.
Unfortunately for this doctor at the hospital, he had started a surgery on a fully open child when the siren went off. All of the doctors and staff were injured in that blast, but he says they were able to protect the child from any harm. The first targeted strike hit the hospital at 10 yesterday morning. Then, hours later, another attack damaged the city's maternity and fertility clinic, killing at least 7 people there. Today, the Kremlin is blaming Ukrainian anti-missile fire for the attack, saying it was not Russian forces.
European governments, including the Irish government, have called Russia's bombing of the Children's Hospital a war crime. What is your response to that?
My response to that I gave many times, including at this stakeout, that we have not bombed the Children's Hospital.
But the UN denies Russia's claim, saying there was a high likelihood that the Children's Hospital took a direct hit from a Russian missile.
Just 24 hours ago, an attack on the largest children's hospital in Kyiv, a hospital that I visited a couple of years ago when I was in Ukraine, visiting with children, some of whom have been victims of the Russian aggression, others cancer patients suffering other illnesses, being treated at this remarkable facility. And it's particularly despicable that we would see this attack on that hospital.
Investigators with the International Criminal Court in The Hague visited the hospital today to collect evidence for possible war crimes charges. The attack in Kyiv follows Ukraine's missile strike on a beach in Russian-annexed Crimea that killed 4 people, including 2 children, and injured more than 150 others. Russian President Vladimir Putin had vowed consequences. The government has since created bunkers and bomb shelters on those beaches.
This is a reminder that the full-scale war is continuing relentlessly.
But when it comes to the likely retaliation in Kyiv ahead of that NATO summit in Washington, D.C., it was Russia's heaviest bombardment in almost 4 months and one of the deadliest of the war.